I feel like creativity, the way we've been talking about it so far on this call, has changed quite a lot in the past few months because anyone can be an artist.
Yeah.
After all, like art is the value of art is perceived by other people. It's determined by other people. So if
Hello, everyone. Thanks for clicking on this video. And today I have Batsi Madzonga chatting to me. We just had a great chat and we cover a bunch of things in a fairly short amount of time. We look at, as usual, the topic of creativity and what that means to him and what the source of his creativity is. Talk about why he isn't affected by imposter syndrome, lucky guy. And we dig into how he created a children's book, the artwork and illustration for a children's book in like 2 days using AI tools, and just a bit more about AI tools in general and where we're kind of going with those and what they mean for the future of creatives. So enjoy. Cool. Well, so to start off, I think we can jump right into your bow tie tying if you're ready.
I have not practiced since our call. Full disclaimer.
Yeah, that's what happens. Hold on a sec. Let me get a stopwatch. I should have had this ready. Stopwatch.
It's cold, so I'm gonna be blowing my nose a lot. I don't know how you're gonna edit that out.
Nah, it makes it more of a human.
Yourself. There's enough good.
That's cool. So yeah, for the bow tie tying, you'll start like this and then kind of bow tie level, the bottoms level, and then when I say go, then tie, and then when you're done, hands up, and I'll stop the stopwatch.
Okay. So get a practice round.
So you have 3 chances. You have 3 chances.
3 chances. Okay.
Yeah. So
that's cool. I'll take the first chance. I'll take it slow and then remember.
Yeah. So start with the bottoms level. Yeah. Cool. Nice. All right, and then hands to your sides. And when I say go, you go. Okay. 3, 2, 1, go. Got the right idea here.
When the kid doesn't do his homework. This is exactly how I got through university. This seems to be harder than I remember.
I'm impressed.
Why?
No, seriously, like if you haven't practiced since we last spoke, like
It's just a few movements.
yeah.
Okay, that's number one. That's my
Okay.
refresher.
All right. We're gonna I'm gonna write down your times and reveal them at the end.
Okay.
Suspense. Okay. Cool, man. Well, thanks for being up for learning a new skill.
Always.
It's always a bit of a challenge. So the one question I ask everyone is, how do you define creativity?
Where do I draw my creativity from? Like the source?
No, creativity as a concept or a thing, like what does that mean to you? Or like if someone like, what does it mean to be creative, or what is creativity? How would you explain that to them?
Yeah. So my experience would be through, my experience with creativity. I guess you'd say it all comes from God, the first person or the first being that I know that ever created anything,
Okay.
as far as our Christian religion goes, anyway. So I would say creativity stems from God, and that's certainly where I draw mine from.
Ah, nice. And
Yeah, it's the ability to create from nothing, or yeah, I feel like it's seeing the unseen, the art of connecting dots that no one else connect, like
yeah,
seeing things and being able to create extraordinary things from ordinary things, all that good stuff. So it's basically just starting with a blank canvas and creating something that resonates with the human condition.
nice. That's awesome. And like I feel like kids are just kind of naturally creative. Like
Yeah.
it almost I've heard of people kind of saying, yeah, creativity gets educated out of us. We become shy, right? Or like embarrassed of putting out what we're creating, or
Eating here and tying my bow tie as we talk. There's a loophole. You didn't tell me I can practice between questions. Wasn't part of the rules.
Go for
So
it. Go for it. I like it. So like I guess as you start, let's say as a child, I assume you're just creative. All kids kind of are. What,
more than others.
yeah, what things like, because you're still creative, like you're doing all sorts of things. You're working as a designer. You're writing a book. You've got a podcast. All these things. Like what are the things that have enabled you to carry on doing that when others have like stopped being as creative as they are when they're children?
I think everything I do is, I guess, two reasons. First reason is because I can. I do them because I can.
Okay.
And the second reason is I do them because I love doing it.
Okay.
Yeah. So I guess what keeps me doing all these things is the fact that, I can do them and I enjoy doing them.
Okay. Nice. That's awesome. And what are some of the things that built up your like creative confidence, would you say, growing up in Zimbabwe?
Yeah, that's a good question. And it comes back to the first question. So I feel like it's knowing that mine was a God-given gift. So I never really rely on my own creativity.
Okay.
Or the way I would say it in Christianity is you don't rely on your own strength.
Okay.
And how that worked practically throughout my career is my designs came from, what they sometimes call divine intervention.
Yeah.
I would essentially it'd be something like that where it's not necessarily divine intervention, but I would say it's the gift I have, being able to create things in my mind.
Yeah.
Right. So early on when I started my creative career, I was running a design studio with a friend of mine in Zim. And a lot of it was branding work or website work and things like that. And I found that all my designs basically came as what you would call a vision. So I would see it instantly in my head. If someone described their business and, I could immediately see their logo in my head.
Nice.
All I had to do then is just pick up Photoshop or Illustrator and create it.
Yeah.
So I think that's where my confidence came from, knowing that it wasn't actually me alone.
Okay.
Ability to do this clearly came from a higher source, because it didn't make sense how I could nail it each and every time.
Yeah, that's awesome.
I just did one design, and that was enough to wow the client. And I feel like because of that creative, like, divine source, my confidence has always rested in something much greater than me.
Okay.
I know that without the God who created me, I'm basically nothing.
Yeah.
So yeah, it gives me confidence.
So is imposter syndrome just not something you struggle with at all?
Never had it.
Like,
so it never had it from the perspective that it's never been crippling. Obviously, when you advance in your career, you always have this thing back in your mind, like, can I do it?
yeah.
But it's never crippling, because the answer for me is always a resounding yes. Because again, I know that I'm not drawing on my own capability or my own strength.
Nice. That's awesome. And who, like, are there individuals who like helped instill that in you growing up? Like,
wow, I never thought of it that way. So I guess the strongest spiritual person in our family has always been my mom.
okay.
But I feel like it was more of a personal relationship with God that kind of walked me down that path. Because my mom never said to us, oh, be confident, because everything you do comes from God. It's not something anyone ever said to me. It's just something that I've experienced firsthand.
Yeah.
So I'd say it's more of a personal realization based on a lot of touch points in my life where I've seen things that have happened to me that cannot be coincidence, because they keep happening.
Yeah.
You just can't deny it at some point.
And so what does creativity kind of look like in your day-to-day job these days?
Yeah. So in my day-to-day job, it's more now about laying out the vision for the department, because I head the design department at a bank. So it's being creative from a problem-solving point of view. So if I were to break it down into percentages, I'd say it's probably 20% visual design, and then the rest is just grand vision type of things. Where is design for the organization going? How am I designing the careers of the designers that work under me? Because each of them have their own career paths and their own aspirations and goals. So I need to align what we do with those goals as well. Trying to figure out and talk to stakeholders, find out what problems they're having in their departments, right? Because it's a bank. You've got your typical banking products like credit cards, accounts, finance, etc. So it's speaking to all those people, finding out what keeps them up at night, and then trying to find design solutions for them. So yeah, my actual job now is, I would say, like 20% design, the rest everything else.
Yeah, that's interesting. Because I think definitely there's almost like a bias with creativity. It's like people think of it as the arts, but often it's
and with AI, what we're seeing now is creativity has been democratized because anyone can be artsy now, right? Because you can create a beautiful piece of art just by typing it in. So I feel like creativity, the way we've been talking about it so far on this call, has changed quite a lot in the past few months because anyone can be an artist.
Yeah.
After all, like art is the value of art is perceived by other people. It's determined by other people. So if someone determines that a piece of art you made on your computer with AI is valuable, then it becomes valuable. Whether it was a traditional artist like ourselves who did it, or whether it's an accountant or pilot who did it, doesn't matter. But if it's deemed as valuable, it's valuable. So I feel like it's more now around the story you tell with the art you create, because the actual art of creating the piece has been made so irrelevant and easy now.
So can you dig into like that a bit more? What do you mean by the story you tell with making the piece or making the art?
So there's this famous example I always give. This I think he's an Italian artist, and he has this series of sculptures that don't exist, right? So it's literally just he'll tape up a little piece of the pavement and say, "There's a sculpture here. It's up to you to imagine what it looks like."
Yeah.
And that little piece of pavement you would have taped up is then cut up and sold. And people then display that little piece of pavement in their house and say, I just bought this for 2 million euros.
Yeah.
And, it's so arbitrary and so, but the point of it is, the reason he's able to sell these pieces of imaginary sculptures for millions is because he has built himself up as a brand, as an artist, and he's also built a story around the concept of art, around the concept of that series, right? Because it's all how you perceive it and what you want it to be. In the same way, an abstract painting is up to interpretation, whoever's looking at it. In the same way, his imaginary sculptures, it's up to imagine what it looks like in the form it takes. So it's really about storytelling at the end of the day. Like we can all use Midjourney and ChatGPT to create stuff, but can you build a story around the art you're creating, and can you package that in a way that's compelling? And so I feel like that's an important aspect of it.
That's fascinating. Like, this was something I really wanted to ask you about, was when it suddenly becomes easy for people to create all this art. There's just like, I mean, I saw you gave a presentation the other day on like how to write a book and create it with the artwork and stuff with AI. So if 100 people listen to that talk, or 100,000 people listen to that talk, there'll suddenly be 100,000 new books maybe. And there's just like so much content now, it becomes overwhelming. And then how do you then separate out? And like I like what you're saying about the story behind it.
It's about realizing a niche, I feel now. Especially with book writing, there's so like millions, literally, or probably billions of books online. So if you are going to be delving into the life of an author, then you better be sure that the concept you're dabbling into is underserved and is more or less like kind of niche. Because if you're just writing any other old any book, like you're saying, like it's become so easy for people to do it. There is going to be an influx, so you better know how to tell a story around what you're doing.
But it's tricky, right? Because then if you're selling niche stuff, you might not get enough buyers to make a business.
So there's two types of niche. There's niche, and then there's niche, right?
Yeah.
So where there's still like 40 million people. And if you sell your book for $1, that's 40 million there, right? So niche in the sense that it's specialized, but niche doesn't necessarily mean it's a small target audience.
Yeah, yeah. It's interesting. Like, I think the story for a lot of products and artwork before used to be the struggle, right? The struggle to make some kind of sculpture or something like that. It's like, or the struggle. Yeah, I guess initially when you're starting out, the struggle, and then over time it's like the story of the person as a brand. So without that struggle, yeah, people kind of need to get really creative in different ways. And there's always gonna be a struggle because now you're competing with all these people. So it comes in struggles now different, or the way that you have to be creative is gonna be different. Because like,
think of it like, you remember back when you're old enough to remember when websites were really hard to make and super expensive.
yeah,
I mean, the whole premise of our business when we started our design studio was website and branding, right? And creating a website was this elitist thing that very few people could do because you had to code it. This was just when like templates started, and even using a template or implementing a template needed some development knowledge. You needed to tweak it, right? And then now, if you look at it today, anyone who needs a website, even myself, would go to a website like Wix and just build, Wix.com website with high quality templates, and your website's done.
yeah,
So the value of developing a website has like decreased substantially from, like, we used to charge like at least $1,000 for it. Now you'd be hard pressed to charge $30 for it because
yeah,
someone can do it.
yeah,
So even though getting a website is now easier, not every website sells, right? So there's a different aspect to it now that you need to look at when it comes to the quality of content on it, your SEO optimization, promoting your website or the products on it. The different aspects now that you have to focus on, because at least the burden or the barrier to entry is now basically gone. So getting the website was the hard part.
yeah,
Now that you can now focus on what's important,
yeah,
right? Because the website itself is not necessarily what's important, because it's all the work that goes after you've launched your website and now you have to sell, right? That's the bit that's important. So I feel like these drag and drop, like no code website builders, have essentially taken the boring part out of it, right? So you can now basically get your website up and running in minutes and focus on what's important, which is your optimization, your SEO, and actually promoting your brand and your company or your product. So I feel like AI is doing the same thing. Like, if you look at the kids book that we're doing, the hard part, the boring part, is usually the illustrations, because you need to work with an artist to do it. Usually, you know how it is with iteration. First, you design the characters, which takes weeks. Once you're happy with the characters, then you design the books, the pages, which again takes weeks, because artist doesn't click their fingers and it's on the page, right? It takes a long time to actually manually draw these kids' books. And then you finally have your book a few months later. Now you have to try to sell the thing. So I feel like what AI has done is taken that entire probably 3, 4, 5 month process, compressed it down to, like, we did ours in less than a month. And I wasn't even doing it full time. If you look at the amount of full-time work I actually did on it, it's probably a couple of days. And it's taken like a few months into a couple of days, right? It's taken me requiring an artist, collaborating with an artist, to me doing it on my own. In the matter of, let's be generous, let's say like 2 days.
yeah.
Now I've done it, I've got the product. Now I focus on the hard part, which is that building a business and getting the word out about what I'm trying to achieve. Because you can imagine, like, there's so many kids books out there. You don't want it to take you 4 months before you can actually start selling the thing.
Yeah.
Also, you also need to kind of validate your idea in the market, right? You've always heard, like with product, when you're setting up a business, get your first prototype out, even with UX, right? Get your first prototype out, validate it, then you iterate. If it doesn't work, iterate, and until you have a final product. Now imagine with authoring and books, you can't really iterate, right? Because it takes you months just to create the damn thing, right?
Yeah.
So I think AI is really helping with that, where you can literally iterate and evolve your product extremely fast.
Yeah.
Basically no money at all.
That's cool. Yeah, because I imagine you're using some kind of print on demand service also. So you can like
So,
even update like a new edition.
Yeah, easy. You just upload it and that's it.
Yeah. Huh. That's sweet. Yeah.
So
So
actually imagine the value that's going to be created. So if you remember when social media came, we didn't really know what it was and how much it was going to change the world. But if you look at our world today, can you imagine a world without social media? Like how many billions of dollars have been added to the world's economy because of social media? How many jobs have been created? You've got entire like 1,000-man companies, tens of thousands of social media companies, right? Social media marketing, social media advertising, and social media agencies, community managers. You've got all this value that's been created off the back of social media. AI, I feel like, is the same thing. We're just in the beginning, and the amount of value that's going to unlock, like given like 5-10 years from now, the jobs you're going to see coming up, the technology that's going to be there that frees us up. Like I keep saying, it frees you up to do the important stuff, not the boring stuff. So yeah, I feel like it's quite exciting.
So what do you view as the important stuff? I mean, in your book, for example.
The important stuff is everything that happens after you've got the book. So actually building a community around your IP, setting up your characters as IP, and then starting to build out a strategy for where you want to take that IP. Because nothing starts from, for example, creating an NFT collection for our characters, creating animated shorts for our characters, short films that we can enter to awards festivals. There's so much you could do once you've got the IP.
Okay.
I feel like that's the fun part, where actually you've got the character, you can easily churn out content for it. Now, what's the actual strategy and thinking behind your actual IP?
And do you think some of that stuff might get automated at some point?
Which stuff? Oh, the fun part?
Yeah.
It already has. So that's what language models have done, right? So I can literally say to ChatGPT, can you come up with a growth strategy for a children's book targeting Zimbabwean children or local languages or whatever? Then he can spit out a growth strategy for the next 10 years if I asked it to.
Yeah.
So yeah, I feel like it has been made easier for sure. Like everything has been made easier because ChatGPT can essentially do everything.
Yeah.
I would say, yeah, some of it has been automated.
Yeah, interesting. Yeah, I guess for a kind of small team or any team really, the things that are hard for you. I mean, this has always been said, is like automate the stuff you don't want to do or outsource it.
Or get an in.
Yeah. So yeah, it's interesting to see where this goes and like.
Are you using AI in your research, like ChatGPT? Because you're a researcher, right?
A little bit, and like kind of we've been encouraged to experiment with it and like just learn how to use it. So
because last time we spoke, you're saying your job is really hard. I feel like AI can make that learning curve a lot softer.
Eventually, but I think right now for niche stuff, it's like really, it hasn't been trained on enough, right? So like some of the stuff I'm doing, it's very niche and it just doesn't understand that technology. So if I can like train it up and be like, this is what's happening, then it can maybe start giving me more suggestions on stuff. So yeah, it's interesting to see. And I don't know, it's kind of, I'm in two minds. Like, I don't know what you think about this, but it makes us freeze up time for you now. But when everyone's doing it,
Yeah.
then we're still just gonna be working just as hard, maybe.
Yeah. So I think everyone can do it, but not everyone can do it equally well.
Yeah.
It's like anything. Like everyone can drive, but we're not all great drivers. Some people make kick drivers, right?
Yeah.
So that's why you see like you have careers popping up now specifically for creating prompts for AI.
Yeah.
Because it also takes a bit of an underlying understanding of how the model works if you're going to actually or the best out of it.
Yeah. Interesting.
And as they open up the APIs as well, like ChatGPT and etc., as they open up the APIs, we can actually tap into that language model to create bespoke solutions in our software. So I think that's also opening up quite a lot of value in the sense that we can now actually hire engineers who have the ability to tap into like ChatGPT's API to create outputs that add value to our businesses, which I feel like is something that's probably going to be done more of, especially in banking, for instance. There's a lot that ChatGPT can do if you give it enough data, like enough customer data. There's so much value that it can and so many amazing experiences it can unlock.
Yeah, I think it's going to be interesting, like 10 years from now, to see the applications, right? Because we just have no idea. If we did, we would be like getting super rich. But
yeah, I know.
But like, yeah, everyone has to go through that learning and trying it out and experimenting. That's awesome. How are we? What's your time situation? It's my time check.
Probably about 5 more minutes.
5 more minutes. Okay, cool.
How do you design your fabric for your bow ties?
How do we design it?
Yeah.
So at the moment, we're not doing that much design for it. We just use offcuts. So it's
okay. So this print existed. You just used an offcut to create the
yeah. So it's kind of like reducing waste, kind of. And so we won't, almost or pretty much everyone is one of a kind, because we get a small amount of fabric and then we won't see that fabric again, because fabrics are always being like updated and changed.
That's cool. That's interesting.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah, like I mean, we've got artists like Tapiwa to paint on blank bow ties for us, just as something like even more unique. And I've definitely dabbled with the idea of like doing our own designs, or like allowing people to design something online, but just like right now in Zimbabwe, that would be very hard to set up the printing and that kind of thing. So
yeah,
and I've kind of like my box for creativity, or like my limitation that I've put on the business is like it needs to be sustainable or like eco-friendly kind of thing. So like printing large amounts of fabric is often like pretty detrimental to the environment. But there are ways to do it like eco-friendly, but that's really hard to do because new technology there. So yeah,
and I'm not sure. Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, so it's tough. It's like maybe not good for business because it's like the limits how many you can actually make, but at the same time, it forces you to get creative, like putting up those boundaries. So it's interesting.
Yeah, exactly. And this is when AI can help you. Just ask ChatGPT, how can you solve your production?
For sure. For sure. Yeah, I kind of wonder if people are going to get like AI fatigue, or like manufactured, like digital fatigue, and like even just manufactured stuff fatigue, like because there's going to be so much. I suppose potentially if it's super niche and super customized to them, then they'll be like,
What do
okay,
you mean manufacturing stuff?
well, so let's say books for example. No, but people aren't going to get over books. But I wonder how much value will be placed. I mean, there's a lot of value already placed on handmade stuff. Yeah, it's been made by AI, or I mean, this is already the case, right? Like manufactured versus handmade, and people just buy manufactured. So it's probably not going to be a problem. People don't care how stuff is made. Unless
Yeah,
they
but the
study
handmade
design,
stuff,
people don't care.
yeah, but the handmade stuff is always worth a lot more than the manufactured stuff.
Yeah, yeah. And I wonder that might become even more so. I wonder. Like,
Yeah, maybe, yeah.
like
Like
proof.
photography, for example, because AI can do amazing photography, that doesn't mean that value of actual photography is diminished. It might actually increase it because now you've got an influx of images you can't really tell whether they're real. Like you saw those images of Trump and the Pope. You can't tell those aren't real, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Digitally, they're all pixels. So, but I feel like if someone actually took a photograph of the Pope, a real life photograph, the value of that is now much higher, because anyone can create a photograph of the Pope.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah, it's interesting. It's a crazy world we're entering. All right, cool.
One more try. One
Yeah,
more.
this has been short and sweet, man. Let's see you've been doing some practice there.
Yeah.
All right. You got it level. Cool.
Level.
Let's see those
Hands up.
here. Okay, ready, go. This is looking good.
It has collapsed. Houston, we have a problem.
Do you know what you did? You pushed the bow through the same direction as the front bow.
Ah,
So because you got the
yeah.
one bow there and the other bow. So if you had gone in the other way. Right, you got one more try. You got one more try. So let me reset. This is your last go.
Do it. I'm gonna get some kind of bow tie out this time.
Nice. Okay, let's see those hands. Ready? 3, 2, 1, go.
Oops. Yeah, so the objective now is just to get something out.
Nice.
Okay.
Love it. You happy? Hands up. Clear. Yeah. That'd be acceptable. All right, nice going, man. All right, let's show you your times. Where is our? So this is the leaderboard. Can you see that screen?
I can. Damn, Carl sucks at this. Unless he was a perfectionist. I think he's a perfectionist because he actually works with guys.
Okay, so your time, your
I don't
first
see.
time. Sorry?
I didn't see Guja. Did he refuse to tie one?
He couldn't
Because
find his bow tie.
oh, I thought it's like okay.
Right,
That's
so
disappointing, Guja.
your first time was 32.9.
All right.
Your second was a wash. And your final time was definitely your fastest. 09.6.
Oh, at least I beat Carl. That makes me
Nice.
feel better.
Do you know Carl?
I've never talked to him, but I know him.
Yeah,
Who doesn't? What Zimbabwean doesn't, right?
that's true. That's true. Nice.
Salsa Bill probably practiced the heck.
Oh yeah, Salsa Bill is a beast. Like if she does something, she does it like she goes all in. So amazing. Cool. So number 5. You're number 5. That's awesome.
I'm happy with that. Yeah, I'm happy with that.
Nice. We can have you on some other time to you can have another go at it. But that's been cool, man. I guess one last thing in my head, just thinking through you learning stuff, like having to learn how to tie a bow tie. How do you think about learning in relation to creativity?
Learning in relation to creativity. Well, so creativity isn't something that you can learn, I would say. I've always believed that you're either creative, well, two things. You're either creative or you're not, but that's only in specific domains, right? So I might be creative in the arts. Some people are creative when it comes to numbers and accounting. Some people are creative in the lab, right, with the experiments they run. So I feel like, yeah, you're either creative in a particular domain or you're not. And in the domain where you are quite proficient and creative, I feel like it comes naturally because the passion is there. So when it comes to learning new things or going out and doing new stuff, I feel like it comes naturally in the domain where your gift is. That's why you always hear people saying follow your passion or things like that, because that's when life is the easiest. Like I have the easiest job, the easiest life, because I'm doing something that I'm naturally just good at. It's like Messi and football.
Yeah.
Right. He's naturally good at it. So I don't think he's ever had a day where he said, oh, football is so hard.
Yeah.
It just comes naturally.
Nice. That's awesome. Cool, man. Well, this has been great. Very good. We'll have to catch up soon and see where we are in 5 years' time, 1 year's time. Who knows? It's things are a bit crazy at the moment. With everything changing.
Everything's changing fast. Yeah, I think the world as we know it is going to be very different very soon.
Yeah, yeah. Hopefully in a good way.
Who knows? I was reading something about AI taking over, so now I'm on the fence.
Yeah. When you hear the horror stories, you're like, oh,
it's a legitimate concern. That's all I'll say.
Yeah. So.
And it's like 5 years away.
Yeah. What's already happened, basically, and we're just unaware.
Yeah. Cool. Thanks so much.
We'll enjoy it where we can. Cool, man.
I'll keep practicing. I feel embarrassed that I didn't practice, but that's how my life. I never study. I never practice stuff.
Match practice.
show up and then I get like 50%, which I feel like I did today.
Yeah, you did good. You did good, man. That's cool. All right, thanks, Batsi. We'll chat soon. See ya.
Bye.